Section 1.2 and 1.3, we're going to use segments and congruence and midpoint and distance formulas. So for section 1.2, the first thing we look at is postulate 1, the ruler postulate. Remember, postulates cannot be proven. We simply have to accept them as is. Essentially, what the ruler postulate tells us is that we can connect 2 points with a straight line, and each point will correspond with a real number. So if I have 2 points, A and B, I could fit a straight line across there and then stick a ruler and realize that this distance between A and B has some numeric value. It allows me to give A and B numerical points so I can identify their location. For example, perhaps A will be at 3 and B will be at 5. So then I know that the distance between the two is 2 units. A coordinate is the real number or numbers that give the location of a point. For right now, we're going to stay on a straight line, like we saw above with A and B. In the future, we will also look at the Cartesian plane, which is 2-dimensional, in which case an ordered pair is determined using 2 numbers, a horizontal distance and a vertical distance. But that's for later. For now, we're just sticking on a straight line. Okay, naming. Naming is extraordinarily important in geometry. It's very important that you also get the notation correct and clear. For example, if we are looking at a segment AB, then it's the endpoint, or we could even send a line through here. But it's going to have points, or it's going to have endpoints. And these are going to be the 2 points that define where the segment starts and where it ends. So here, our endpoints are A and B. And it is where the segment starts and ends. A segment is basically a chunk of line, and we've talked about this earlier in section 1.1. So you should be understanding, you should be familiar with this idea of a segment, and that it is a piece of your line. So our segment up here is what I'm highlighting in red. That's our segment. It consists of every point from A to B. Distance. Distance is the absolute value of the difference of the coordinates and the endpoints of a segment. So for example, if again I have A and B, and we'll say this is at 10 and 15, then the distance is going to be 15 minus 10, which is 5 units. There is a very distinct way to name segments when you're talking about the shape versus talking about the distance. When you're talking about the shape of a segment, you draw a little line overhead, and then you use the endpoints to name that segment. When you're talking about the numerical value, the length of the segment, so this is when you're talking about length, you just use the 2 letters. You do not use a line above. So this up here represents the actual segment AB, the shape. AB without the line represents the length of segment AB. So let's look at example 1. Point S is at 3.2 and point T is at 8.4. I want you to determine the name of the line that passes through points S and T, the name of the segment that has endpoints ST, and find the length of the segment from part B. Go ahead and try this on your own first, and then resume the videos when you're ready to check your solution.